This ain't a softball. Because this is a big pet peeve of mine, Tony. You got to help me out with this one because I honestly believe overall this has hurt the wrestling business tremendously. You brought up sports, okay? Jaguars. Tony, I have been a fan of the San Francisco Giants for 55 years, okay? I am an avid fan. I know everything about this team.
I didn't even know he watched football. Then again, I don't pay attention to the personal things of Vince Russo. But anyway,
I have a website presence. I've got 75,000, followers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, I am a fan. I've never been in a locker room. I've never interviewed players. I've never interviewed managers. I am a fan, and I know I am a fan. Now, Tony, you talk about the Jaguars. Jaguars have post-game press conferences. Who's at those post-game press conferences? Professionals. What I'm talking about are people with credentials, people with...
What is credentials? He's going to tell me. Never mind.
Experience, people with a resume, people...
Damn, with a resume. Early life. Vincent James Russo. Okay, he got a degree in journalism. All right, Vince Russo. I did not know he had a degree in journalism, so he's all about journalism. He worked for a school newspaper. Russo got his start in professional wrestling when he began training he trained as a wrestler too. He owned 2 video stores in Long Island. Was he the originator? He's the one behind Clerks? Did he inspire the writers to do Clerks? He also hosted his own local radio show from 92 to 93 called Vicious Vincent's World of Wrestling, which airs Sunday nights on BGBB and Freeport. Oh, he's from Freeport. Shout out to Freeport. The program ran from exactly 1 year. The final show... Oh, Jesus. As always, Vince Russo.
The NFL forever. Not fans. These guys are not fans walking into a press conference. So, Tony, I know you got it from Japan, but you started with these scrums. And I'm going to be as blunt as I can be because I've seen a lot of these scrums, okay? Because, Tony, we love the hugging. We love when people...
All right, now he's glazing him. You don't love the hugging. I've never seen him hug people.
Come in and you hug them. We get a big kick out of that. So we watch the scrums. But, Tony, here's my problem. We got a lot of fans in there, Tony. A lot of fans.
Yo, he is like Big Brother talking to him right now. He got a lot of fans there. He's Big Brother talking to him. Even Tony doesn't like that. Look at his face. He's like, "Your Big Brother talking to me?"
And a lot of people are in there asking you questions and the talent questions because they got a presence on social media. They've got, 100,000 followers.
Damn, 100,000? That's all you need? So I need, guys, hook me up. 100,000 followers. I know I said I didn't want to be in those media scrums, but maybe I'll ask harder questions. I'm just kidding. I don't care. If I want 100 followers, it better be true T-drop followers who like the hard-ass tea and they have no soft behavior. I don't want softies in the 100,000 followers. Please, do not be a soft follower or you get out.
Etc., etc., etc. But at the end of the day...
I'm going to make a soft behavior emoji. Or soft. I don't want... Something. I have to make it. I have temporary emojis in there right now with the Cody Rhodes emoji and all that. But eventually I'll build better ones. Those are just there to help have you guys satisfied so you can spam shit. Have fun over there. Anyway.
They're fans. They're not professionals. They act like fans. My problem with this is I believe we have made these fans feel like they are part of the business. Tony, they're not part of the business.
Neither are journalists. Journalists are not part of the business. They're just people reporting on the business. I'm very confused a little bit confused. I understand where he's getting at, but if you're going with that rhetoric, that means, well, you as the journalist are not part of the business. Anyway, whatever.
Especially wrestling. Wrestling has always been a closed fraternity, and it's been very, very...
Yo, he shook his head. What was that? Closed fraternity. Closed fraternity. He shook his head. Take a look closely at Tony Khan's face.
Wrestling has always been a closed fraternity, and it's been very, very...
He shook his head a little bit there. You saw that? He doesn't agree with that.
Very special. We have literally let fans feel they are now a part of our business.
Maybe he doesn't like that fans are getting more than he did with his degree from University of Southern Indiana. I don't know. Whatever.
And I really feel that has made the wrestling business lose mystique. I feel that has made the wrestling business lose credibility. I feel that it has done way more harm than good, and I think that's one of the reasons why the WWE stopped doing them.
That's not true. The reason WWE stopped them, and we have not true statement. No one has admitted to it, but the situation lies. When they decided to stop doing media scrums, it was the night of SummerSlam Night 1 when SummerSlam Night 2 when Brock Lesnar chose to return. But also Night 1 didn't have a media scrum. Other people, you know what's the beauty with these so-called super fans that he says? Queen of the Ring stated why they stopped doing media scrums. They just told them they're not doing it. And everyone pointed to connect the dot of the fact that it was because Brock Lesnar was returning. Brock Lesnar returned, a man that apparently was allegedly put in the document of the Janelle Grant lawsuit. That he was somehow involved between Janelle Grant, Vince McMahon, and whoever else in the damn rainbow at this point. And he was omitted for almost over a year, not being in TV, not being in events. And he suddenly out of nowhere showed up at SummerSlam, taking down John Cena after he won the belt. Cody Rhodes. He took down John Cena or whatever, and then Cody Rhodes won the belt. Whatever is the situation. Regardless, that's the reason. That is the reason, because you know what was going to happen as soon as they saw him return. Why is Brock Lesnar back? Is Brock Lesnar back because you have confirmed that he is not involved in the Janelle Grant? People would have started asking questions. Maybe it wouldn't have been by social media people. I'm pretty sure they would have asked too. And the news media that was there, the journalists that he talks about, they would have asked. That's the first freaking question that would have showed up in that media scrum. Why is Brock Lesnar back? Did he come back because they've proven that he's not involved? Is he clear of the charges? Oh, he's not? Why is he back on TV? I thought we weren't going to show him. If he's back on TV and he's not been proven that he's not guilty, does that mean Vince McMahon is coming back? They would have opened a gate of so many questions at this point. That's why they stopped doing the media scrum. Not because they thought the fans or this or people would ask questions. Stop. That's a cap. Vince Russo, I'm sorry. I get your other points, but that's a big cap, and you know it.
There are other reasons, but I think that's...
Then why you bring up the other point? You made me pause for no reason, Vince. You're triggering me for no reason. You shouldn't have said the first thing. You know it's a lie.
Part of it. But Tony, I have to get your spin on that because I just feel like the door is open. Hey, anybody, you got a website, you got 100,000 followers, you got a podcast? Yeah, come on in and ask MJF any question you want to ask him. That doesn't happen anywhere else, Tony.
So before we get to him, let's talk about what he means about these social media scrum questions. So let's see. Let's go with this one.
Hello. Hey, Athena, Tony. Thank you for having us here. This is Rich with the Greatest Faux Show podcast. Athena, your reign.
So this was a podcaster asking her a question.
Ring of Honor Women's World Champion has been
forever.
Oh, I'm
forever.
It's been historic.
Yeah, you can put that in front of that. Forever.
Unprecedented. And being our forever champion, because you're definitely mine, the correct pronoun around here, right? But being our forever champion, is this more impressive than a certain someone who's having his retirement match in Atlanta this year?
Who?
Great answer.
I focus on me and my championship reign. I've traveled all around the world. I am a history maker. Time and time again, I have made history. I was the first woman to main event a pay-per-view in Hammerstein Ballroom, a first woman to main event under the Tony Khan banner. I am here to stay. I am focused on me and my championship reign. I don't care about anyone else right now. Right now, this is my time.
Yeah, he asked a dumb question. It wasn't that clear. Even the chat in this says it. Is this more impressive than someone who is having his retirement match in Atlanta? Who? Great answer. Then why did you ask the question? Like, isn't the first rule of journalism not to ask leading questions? He's definitely not a real journalist. I think they meant journalist. He didn't go to journalism for that. Calling a guy with a podcast a journalist is a stretch in most cases. Wouldn't expect them to know the rule of journalism. I mean, I guess I'm doing a podcast, right? Right now I'm doing a podcast. I don't know anything about journalism. I'm a poor writer too, as you can hear from my scripts. But I do like asking questions. I would have wrote a much better question than that. But anyway, let's listen to Mercedes.
About something serious that a few weeks ago, you opened.
Who retired in Atlanta? I think they're talking about Goldberg. The Goldberg match.
Opened up about something serious that you were dealing with personally in your life.
Oh, God.
And-
What are you going to ask me?
Well,
She's already annoyed with the stupid question.
I wanted to ask
I'm
you.
not going to date you. Okay.
Well, I'm married 9 years, so thank you.
Oh,
though.
congratulations.
I appreciate it. Thank you. But I wanted to ask, so you opened up about something serious that you were dealing with personally in your
Mhm.
life. And I wanted to know, what did you learn from that experience? And
She's already bored. Damn, she's bored. She's already bored.
specifically, what advice would you give to someone that may be going through a separation or divorce?
So he was asking, this was a few years back. This is when the people found out that she divorced her husband. And he was trying to ask a very personal question that has no relevancy whatsoever to the All-In pay-per-view. Why would you ask that? That is, look, if you can ask that if you have a one-on-one sit down in an interview, maybe. Because one thing I do with the interviews I did so far, out of respect to the person I interview, is, hey, I'm going to ask about this stuff. Is there any off topics? Because the reason I'm asking that is I'm a small podcaster. I'm a small media person, reach. I need to earn my due. And I need to give the respect. I can't be that person that asks hard questions. I don't want to ask off-base questions that don't make sense with the topic at hand. So I will ask hard questions. I'm not going to ask fluff questions. I've been trying my best to not do fluff interviews. It's really hard. Anyway, they can ask hard questions, but not off bounds. I think this is off bounds given that it's a media scrum after All-In pay-per-view. She just had a match. Why are you asking a question that has nothing to do with wrestling? That's the issue. If it was a podcast, a one-on-one interview on the side, not related to an event, sure. If she allows it, ask for it. But why are you asking this question? Anyway.
Why? Are you going to tell your wife something? You getting ready for something, brother?
She didn't even, she's like, whatever to this guy. What's next? What's this one? Oh, this one.
The microphone. Any questions for Mariah May, who is still the women's world champion?
Don't be shy. What's
Please.
wrong? You guys don't like women's wrestling?
Okay.
Do you have any questions? You guys like
Please
to
don't be
tweet a lot?
shy.
Any other questions?
I apologize for
Anything
being honest.
interesting to add? Anyone?
Damn.
Call anyone? I think they're just stunned by the glamour, and you know, thank you very much for taking the time.
Good
to
work,
be
guys.
here.
You have a bright future in media.
So the problem here, if you didn't notice, is no one had questions. I'm pretty sure anyone in media, meaning newspaper companies, whatever, Newsweek, whatever, Time Magazine, or actual, as Vince Russo will say, actual journalists would have questions. Especially, I forgot what Wrestle Dream match this was. If anyone knows in the chat, Wrestle Dream, I think this was Wrestle Dream 2024. Let me see. If it has, yep. How did I know that? I'm freaking good. Wrestle Dream 2024. Who did Mariah May face? That's the one thing I don't know. Mariah May, I think she faced Willow Nightingale. She was the champ. She defended it and she defeated Willow Nightingale. That's a pretty good match. Willow Nightingale is over as F right now amongst the crowd. And the fact that they didn't have a question for her is sad. And it's probably because, as Vince will say, you have a room full of podcasters, non-journalist people, yada, 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 who have no questions. If you are invited to a media scrum, guys, always have questions. If you don't know you're being invited, you may find out that night. Still prepare for questions. Always be prepared for the unknown. And if you want to be taken seriously or at least respected by Vince Russo and Jonathan Coachman, at least show your worth. This is sadly what you got. Whoever was in this media scrum just proved Vince Russo's point. Still think people who are supposed to be journalists or interviewers or going into a media scrum should prepare questions. You have a beautiful tool in 2026 called a fucking phone. You have a phone. You see this? This is a phone. This is a nice screen. Phone, iPhone, whatever. You have internet? Great. So what you do with this phone is you look up Mariah May. What did you do, Mariah May? Oh, you were in Stardom. Okay. Hey, how does it feel wrestling in the United States versus wrestling in Japan at Stardom? Is there anything different, anything significant that is different that gave you a little culture shock when you started wrestling at AEW? Look at that. I just freaking came up with that question by just Chef Maku giving me this comment. It's not hard to ask questions, guys. I ask my wife 20 questions a day within a half a day. There's 20 more after at the end of the day. I ask her questions all the time. In construction, I ask questions all the time. I'm asking questions every day. It's so easy. It's not that hard. It doesn't mean you're stupid if you don't know how to, if you're asking questions all the time. It just means you're trying to find out information. Anyway, where the we were just going through these clips. I already lost my place. So Russo pulling out the NFL comparison, and I hear him. You go to an NFL press conference, there's credentials process, it's very tight security. You get a press badge, you went through background checks, you represent an actual outlet, then you get in. Random guy with a podcast, you're watching from home. You're watching like everybody else. And wrestling has never operated like that. They never had post-show scrums, backstage asses, talent, doing interviews with fan sites. It's unique to this business. No other major sport does it that way. And Russo's argument is that by doing it, you are blurring the line between the business and the audience in a way that costs you credibility. But here's where it gets interesting, because we hear Tony's answer. Russo drops that line that is going to get off the entire debate. So let's see how this guy returns. And I apologize it took this long. It just was funny to see how the media scrum that Vince Russo likes talking about so much. So let's hear Tony out.
Very interesting.
Okay.
I think that, first of all, there's a difference between working in one job in wrestling versus another job in wrestling. There's a difference between being a wrestling fan versus working in the wrestling industry year round.
Ooh.
But I do think that the lines get blurred, absolutely. And the lines have been blurred more than ever. And absolutely, you mentioned people with big followings and medium-sized followings or small followings and people from all different backgrounds. I think it's good. All these people are connected to wrestling from different walks of life.
But Tony, let me jump in. What he's saying is that when you have a fan come in, a fan's going to ask you in particular a question so you don't get upset with him, or so you are nice to them. And I spent 11 years at ESPN. That's not a reporter.
Sure.
Wrestling has always been a close fraternity, to be honest. That's what they're saying. And you know what? Vince Russo was absolutely right. Kayfabe was law. You didn't break the fourth wall. You didn't let fans behind the curtain. The business was protected like a secret. But what year is it, Vince? Can you tell me? Because we are the fans he's talking about. We are the YouTube channels, the Twitter accounts, the Reddit threads, the podcasters. We are the wrestling media in 2026. And how is this shutting these people down, all these personalities down, help grow the business? Because how business grows today is through social media, not through newspapers. I'm sorry. But I get your statement. They need to be smarter people conversing, though. They do. I totally agree with that point, though. Now, the whole thing that Russo brought up about losing its mystique, losing the credibility, it's a heavy statement made by him. And if you've been watching wrestling since the territory days, which I don't know anyone who has, except these 3 people probably, I understand where that feeling comes from. There was something magical about not knowing how it worked. The mystery was part of the product. But here's the counter. When the internet killed kayfabe in the late 90s, the promotions had 2 choices, fight it or lean into it. WWE fought it for years and looked like clowns trying to maintain kayfabe while the entire IWC exposed everything. AEW was born post-kayfabe. They built their business model on the assumption that the fans already know. So why would you wall them off? So again, let's hear Tony's answer, and I apologize. What's going on, Matt? Hope all is well. What were you, Degenerate saying? Whoops, I can't pull this question. I'm gonna need to fix this chat for the next stream. I'm just gonna put you up here, Degenerate. Wasn't he avoiding a lot of questions that Ariel wanted to ask on his show? Yes, that is correct. He avoided a lot of questions during mostly all his past podcasts. The reason why this is probably the better interview so far by Tony is because he does answer more of it. He answers more questions than usual. He still feels like he's avoiding some stuff here and there, but he does a better job. And I think it's because people are able to ask him the right questions. I don't know if maybe the way Vince and Jonathan Coachman try to ask him helped. But anyway, let's continue with this guy talking. Where are we up to? Actually, they were talking about blur lines too. So, wait, yeah. So, one thing they talked about was blur lines. And that's Tony's argument in 6 words. So, we're just going to go through it. Let's continue.
The reporter is asking Tony Khan, why did you have a needle through a cheek tonight and getting a straight answer? That's what a reporter does.
Oh, shoot. That was from the last pay-per-view. Who actually enjoyed that? The needle through his thing. I got Twitter because I heard the wrestlers were on it and wanted to see the fun. So you enjoyed Ricochet's theatrics online, Chef? Who is enjoying this guy's theatrics on Twitter? It's kind of scary and a little bit toxic. I don't know why he's letting fans get on his case. He needs to chill. There's him, and then there's Drax, whatever that guy from the FTR. He also gets a little angsty on the internet too. I don't know. I think part of being a wrestler, you might need to take social media 101 and know when to and when not to answer to fans. But anyway, Tony's answered the lines that get blurred more than ever. That's it. That's Tony. Argument in 6 words, and he's not wrong. Go back at the Premier League press conference that you've seen get fan blogger in those rooms. There's NFL draft coverage, independent YouTube analysts sitting in the same press room as ESPN nowadays. The de-evolution or evolution of media is not a wrestling problem. It's becoming a global media shift because we have influencers that are able to reach people much more further than even the regular ESPN show. Not many people have cable shows anymore or cable channels. They're watching TikTok, they're watching Instagram, YouTube shorts, whatever. That's how people absorb media nowadays, which is scary because I know some of the stuff out there is not 100% factual. But what Tony is essentially saying, I didn't create this reality. I'm just operating inside it. And instead of pretending these voices don't exist, I'm going to let them in the room. But then And this is the most nuanced part of the whole debate. Coach steps in because Coach wants to get more of that answer too. So I'm going to rewind it back a little bit and we'll continue with Coach.
You mentioned people with big followings and medium-sized followings, small followings, and people from all different backgrounds. I think it's good. All these people are connected to wrestling from different walks of life. You know,
But Tony, let me jump in. What he's saying is that when you have a fan come in, a fan's going to ask you in particular.
Yes, Ricochet did this woman with a health condition. He was getting mad about his recent loss at the last pay-per-view, and a fan, just being a fan, reacted to them. You know, like how we would react at a live event to a wrestler. They're, you know, we go, F you, motherfucker, whatever. We curse out wrestlers. I've cursed out Logan Paul several times at this point. It's normal. So you can assume this is the digital media form in X. And instead of understanding that, he took it personal and he did something that he shouldn't have said. He got in trouble for it. Anyway.
A question so you don't get upset with him, or so you are nice to them. And I spent 11 years at ESPN. That's not a reporter. A reporter is...
So Coach is drawing the line between access and accountability at this point. He is actually, and this is actually an important distinction that I don't think gets made enough. So let him finish first and I'll continue.
Is asking Tony Khan, why did you have a needle through a cheek tonight, and getting a straight answer? That's what a reporter does.
I appreciate it.
Now, he's making that distinction. So we'll continue.
Yeah, the interesting things. There's shades of gray among some of these outlets. It's not all the worldwide leaders in journalism and sports journalism competing for these spots. I think what's interesting to me, Coach and Vince, is I generally have said, I'll answer every question. I'll stay until everybody's gotten to ask something, and I want to hear everyone's questions. And I'm always open to hear what everyone thinks. And I hear what you're saying, that obviously fans of wrestling are going to receive wrestling positively, but those are also a lot of the people who've chosen to cover wrestling. So I think it's good. And I want to encourage people to cover wrestling and share their thoughts, whatever they may be, you know, and I think we all have different opinions on wrestling, but that's one of the things that makes it great, is it brings so many different people all over the world together so consistently every week, all year, forever.
But I got to ask you this, and then we'll move on, Tony. But so Tony, are you saying if I am a fan of the Jacksonville Jaguars and I got a Jacksonville Jaguar site and I've got 100,000 people on that site, are you going to let me into the post-game press conference?
I do think, Vince, the line to cover the team between some of the fan blogs and some of the reporting, that line in all sports is changing. You know, you see huge followings for some of these fan sites and fan blogs. So I don't think that's exclusive to wrestling, where you're seeing people that have come from being big fans of a team or a sport. They have a Patreon, or they have a website or a blog, or all of the above. They have social media presence. That's happening all over the world. That's happening in England with the Premier League.
Shout out to Geeks at Podcasts for becoming a T-Drop Insider. Much appreciated. Thank you so much.
I think there's aspects of that in the NFL. You see some of these big fan blogs where they do get more and more access to the team. So I think it's a really interesting, nuanced point you're bringing up, Vince. But Coach, you may have seen some of that too, where some of the faces in the press room in sports changed also.
They certainly did change.
Put the one-ups for Geeksit for becoming a member. Thank you so much, man. A new donation. You go, boy. Thank you so much for the $5 donation. Much appreciated, Geeksit. Shout out to Geeksit. Put the ones up in the chat, guys.
There's no doubt about it. And I do agree with you. I think it has changed over time, but I do think that it would serve you better, and it would serve the wrestling business better if we had the Chris Van Vliets in the room that are going to
not Chris Van Vliet.
Should not be fluff. Sometimes the fans, and this is one of the reasons we're excited to have you on today, is because I think it's going to help you as a really hardcore seat to not always dance around a question, but answer it directly, because that can help you, because that's who I learned from. And I think that today is a good step forward for you and for us. So with that being said, and for those of you that are just joining us right now, of course, we're joined by Tony Khan, President and CEO of AEW. I want to talk about Jericho for a second because...
Anyway, that's where it stops here. But he does bring Chris Van Vliet's name in the conversation. Coach drops his name and has us sat down with wrestlers and got... I mean, Chris Van Vliet has sat down with wrestlers and gotten real answers. He asks uncomfortable question. He follows up. He doesn't just ask who was your favorite match and smile. Chris Van Vliet's a real one. He asks hard questions. He asks deep questions. Does he go like the hard questions in terms of why is your business failing? Do you think AEW fails? No, he's asking personally question. And Chris Van Vliet has said it in an interview when he got interviewed on that he likes to ask questions that he will like answers to. He doesn't interview. In all honesty, he's said it, which I think is a beautiful thing. He says he doesn't interview for all of you. He interviews for himself, meaning as a fan, because he knows he's a fan. He asks what he wants to find out, what he doesn't know about wrestler, what he doesn't know about Stone Cold, what he doesn't know about Kit Wilson or anyone else he's interviewed. That's how he structures his interviews. And it looks well made because it becomes a passion of his and it gives more realness to his interview because he is legitly locked into the interview. He is more invested in that interview because he is asking questions that he wants to know. And maybe some of those questions get repeated from other interviews in the past, but he has a line of questioning that works. And that's why Chris Van Vliet is one of the greats. If you haven't checked him out, definitely do. The problem isn't letting fans in the room. The problem is if the fans in the room are only there to throw softball questions and post the clip saying they got a quote and getting those million views that you guys seem to follow. You shouldn't be doing that, guys. You're floating some of these people's egos. And of course that's not journalism. That's just content creation wearing a press badge. They're not hard facts diggers, no soft fucking question type of seeker. I don't know what you want to call them at this point. They should be professional. They should be asking hard questions. Oh, what kind of cheesecake you like? Fuck out of here. No. Why did this? How do you feel you did in this match? How you feel you have evolved as a wrestler in the past year in AEW or some shit like that? Those are average question, but then you can start digging in with harder questions. You only have a few minutes in that room. Tony needs both. He needs the accountability reporters and he needs the fan voices because those fan voices help spread the content for him. It helps him get it popular. The question now becomes for Tony, though, is how he balances those two. Because that's probably going to be the question that you need to do going forward because you can't take away the content creators. I'm sorry. They're here to stay. It is what it is at this point. Now, Tony fired back with receipts here, and he looked, he's right that fan-driven media has gotten access in traditional sports too. NFL fan blogs have credentials. Premier League supporter media gets press passes. That is happening across the industry. But here's where I got to push back on Tony slightly because those leagues also have a separate, rigorous, traditional press operation, apparently, running alongside the fan access. The NFL doesn't replace ESPN with fan blogs. It supplements it. Russo and Coach concern isn't that fan media exists. It's that in AEW Scrum and vice versa with WWE Scrum, everybody's in the same room with no structure and no real accountability layer that you need for these type of scrums. Otherwise, the media scrum is not a media scrum. And Tony hasn't fully addressed that part of the critique, which is probably why there's a little L when it comes to this part of the interview because he accepts it, but I don't think he comprehends that there has to be a balance or for both groups to be in the same room. If he can't figure out that balance, and then you need to do two separate type of media scrums. One based on fan, social media people and some with the hard questions that will help. But like I said, something that needs to be figured out. It's something new. It's something that these people need to I don't know. Like it's a hard balance. Now, Coach drops the closing argument for this segment of the interview, which is it would serve you better if we had Chris Van Vliet in the room. Questions should not be fluff. I think it's going to help you as a really hardcore CEO to not always dance around a question, but answer it directly. Coach just told Tony Khan to his face that his own media environment is coddling him. It is a bold take, and honestly, it's fair. It's very fair, because if the only people asking Tony questions are people who are afraid to upset him, afraid to lose media press access, then Tony is operating in a bubble. And bubbles don't help you grow. Bubbles help you avoid hard conversations. So here's my take about this whole segment. Here's where I'm going to land and we're going to close this video. Russo is right that structure matters in a media scrum. Coach is right that accountability journalism serves the promotion better than fan flattery. But Tony is also right that you can't wall off the new media landscape and pretend it is anything before 1999 at this point. The solution isn't choosing one or the other. You have to do both. Tiered access, maybe, credentialed reporters, get a dedicated presser with real follow-up questions, and then maybe a fan media version gets their segment. Everybody gets represented. The business grows because the accountability exists and the community feels connected, which helps the product. That's not what AEW does right now, and not even WWE at this point. And Russo and Coach, of all people, just made the case for why it needs to change. And the wildest part, though, Tony Khan listened for the most part. He didn't dismiss it. He engaged with every point. That's either a really good sign, hopefully, for the future for AEW, or really good PR in his move. And I generally don't know which one it is yet. So now let me know in the comments, do you think AEW's open press scrums help or hurt the business at this point in time? Are fan media voices in that room a good thing, or are they just there to throw softballs? Drop it below. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. If the T hit right, hit the like button and subscribe. See you in the next one.